he got cheated on, which it's not just a breakup. You're building this foundation off of trust, assuming that this person is going to do the right thing.
Yeah.
And then they don't. Like, that's even harder to overcome than just a regular breakup, in my opinion.
For sure. Absolutely. What's up, campers? Welcome to the Camp Throuple Podcast.
We are your camp hosts. I'm Alana.
I'm Megan.
And I'm Kevin.
Woo!
Woo! And we've got another juicy episode for you.
Juicy.
Yeah, a lot of you sent us responses to a poll that we posted on Instagram. Thank you. The poll was kind of sad.
Yeah, I mean, breakups.
I guess it wasn't a poll.
No, it was a question.
The question.
Yeah. We posed a question, and it was in regards to breaking up, specifically in polyamorous, thruple, any type of that
Quad,
relationship.
whatever you are.
Just anything under that umbrella. And we got a lot of responses.
Yeah.
Which that part is sad and unfortunate. And we heard an array of different kinds of stories from very, like, there's some negative ones, but then there were also some that had a positive outlook in the end.
And we just want to take the time before we get into this to say we appreciate everyone who did respond. We're sorry for breakups. It's never easy. A lot of emotional, mental pain that goes along with that.
Well, and the reason why we asked is more because I think we get asked a lot, like, how are you guys going to handle a breakup?
Yeah.
And we don't have any insight into that. We haven't gone through that. We don't really focus our energy there because why? Why do that? I know the saying. I'm not going to say it because I don't actually know the saying.
Are you asking us to say the saying?
No. So we just wanted to hear from other people who have gone through it to hopefully, tell your story that maybe could help somebody else. You never know. And I wish we could share more, but we would be here all day.
Yeah.
It's true.
It is. And yeah, we want this to be an educational platform in a way. And since this is a question we get asked a lot, and maybe some people are just curious because in this type of relationship, it's so different that people want to know all of the logistics. But also I think sometimes people get into this type of relationship and they want to know everything, like what to do about everything. And if a breakup did come, because I think people look at this as a higher probability of a breakup, which I don't know the data on it. It could be, but I mean, the divorce rate is just in any marriage of two people is like 51% or something.
Yeah.
So,
but I can see you throw two people together. That's already hard. You throw three people together
Or more.
like
yeah.
the difficulties I think are going to rise. So,
Absolutely.
I mean, just us on social media, we've watched over, how long have we been on social media, like doing this, you think?
Is it 2022? No, 2023. Nope, 2022.
So since then, I mean, I think we've watched multiple, unfortunately, like thruples or quads that were sharing their stories through social media that have broken up.
For one reason or another.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I understand why it's a question. I totally get it. And a lot of people think that we just like vote someone out, like The Last of Us. That's a very popular opinion.
The Last of Us.
Is that what it's called?
Among Us.
Among Us. Sorry, guys. I'm not hip.
It's okay. The Last of Us is a cool show.
It is.
It's a very cool show. I'm excited for that to come back next year.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
It's dope.
So before we get into these stories, if you guys could just take a quick second, hit that like button, smash that subscribe button. It really means a lot to us. We are trying to grow this platform and reach more people who might be struggling in this, may be curious, interested, and this is teamwork. So we need all our campers out there to help us out. We greatly appreciate it.
Absolutely.
With that said, you want to start getting into the stories?
Let's go.
Yeah, let's jump on in. So some of these were a little bit longer in form, so we kind of brought it down a little bit. We've got more of a Cliff Notes or
we just
summarized
shortened
version.
it a little bit. Removed everyone's names, of course. If you guys ever send us anything, we will keep it anonymous. Unless you're like, say my name, then we will.
Yeah, if you really want it out there, power to you. All right, so first up, today I'm sharing the story of a couple, Emma and her fiance, Jack, who experienced a unique and challenging journey in their relationship. After 2 years together, they got engaged and planned to marry in a few years. In July 2023, a close friend of theirs, Alex, passed away. His loss brought them closer to Mia, a friend of Alex's. Through their shared grief, the three of them developed a strong bond. Eventually, Emma suggested the idea of opening their relationship to include Mia. While Jack was hesitant at first, he warmed to the idea and they became a throuple. At the beginning, things went well, but over time, Emma began to feel left out as Jack and Mia grew closer. Despite Emma's reassurances that she was fine, it became clear that tension was building. The turning point came during a poker night at Mia's dad's house. Jack and Mia were enjoying themselves when Emma arrived and felt excluded. This led to a conversation later that evening where Emma expressed her discomfort. Ultimately, Jack realized the relationship dynamic wasn't working and decided to end his engagement with Emma, recognizing his stronger connection with Mia. After the breakup, Jack spoke to Mia and gave her time to decide if she wanted to pursue a relationship with him. Despite a brief misunderstanding caused by Emma, Mia and Jack decided to move forward together. Now, 7 months later, Jack and Mia are in a happy, monogamous relationship, having navigated a complex situation with care and honesty.
Yeah, I mean, that is one of the possible outcomes of like going into a polyamorous relationship. You might find that one person isn't ready for it. There could be jealousy. There could be some development things that they haven't really worked through within themselves.
Yeah.
It also could be that they are ready. They're really willing to go. But these other two people form a stronger connection. Mm-hmm. And it's like, oh, wow, I actually feel a lot more for this individual than I did the other person because fill in the blank.
Yeah.
It doesn't need to be like, what is it, like ill intent behind it. It doesn't need to be that there was malicious, like...
Like life just happens sometimes and you don't know what connection is going to form. You also don't know what feelings are going to arise from you once you start this. Like in that story, it sounded like the woman that now is alone or, you know, was broken up with was the one who kind of initiated it.
Yeah.
Who wanted it. But then once they got into it, maybe she was like, oh shit, actually, like I can't handle seeing my partner.
Well, and probably wasn't honest about those feelings for fear of losing her partner.
Right.
And I think that's a very common situation. And I think that's why people assume these types of relationships will end in a breakup because a lot of times people are scared and they let that fear control them and they don't speak up for themselves. If you don't want this type of relationship, do not commit to this type of relationship.
Yeah.
It's not good for you, your partner, or the additional person you are adding into the relationship. It's just not good overall.
Yeah.
And so you have to be really honest with others, but also yourself.
Well, and I think going into this, like you have to kind of accept that a breakup may be like in the future, like that may happen. Like in this situation, you know, they were engaged, like they were going to get married. So they were pretty committed to one another. So I'm sure that was like a very life altering thing to happen. But
Yeah, and I'm sure it's hard for, what was the other, there was three names. The new person was Mia, the other person was Emma, and then who was the? Jack. So it does, like, putting myself in that situation.
Yeah.
If that happened with us. So you and I decided to, you know, open up our relationship. We find Megan, and Megan and I develop a very strong, healthy relationship. But then you get into this like cold feet, or for whatever reason, say it's the same scenario, and we ended up breaking up. Because I am in love with you, and in this scenario, I mean, it would be difficult for me.
Yeah.
Because yes, I'm in love with you, but I'm also in love with you. And if you weren't having it and like you broke up and say you ended things, like that would take a while for me to get through that. Like it would be weird, right?
Well, and it kind of, you know, we did, like we said, kind of shorten this story to read on the podcast. But when I initially read it, it kind of sounded like it brought out some qualities from Emma that maybe were a little like not so great, you know, maybe because of how she was feeling. Like we all don't react perfectly like when we're in a fear mindset. Like I get it. It makes sense. So I don't know, having then to see your existing partner react that way would be really difficult.
Yeah, you're seeing them in a new light that
which you would have maybe never seen
Right.
if you just stayed monogamous and didn't do that.
Yeah.
Like that's rough, but very like, I don't know. I think that's probably a common thing that happens in this kind of relationship and does cause a breakup.
What's also interesting is that Jack and Mia decided to be monogamous afterwards. You know, it's, I don't want to say cool for empathy for Emma and, you know, for empathy for Jack as well. And I'm sure Mia had strong feelings for Emma as well. But it is cool to be able to like we've developed a strong love. And even though it didn't work out with the three of us, I think I don't know. I'm struggling to articulate what I'm trying to, what I'm feeling or the thoughts that are coming up in my head. But it's like love doesn't always make logical sense. And originally, Jack and Emma in love, engaged, talking to Mia, then developing stronger versions of that. It's not like everyone broke up and love just vanished.
Right.
It's like there is still love in there. And hopefully things worked out for Emma. I feel bad for her.
Yeah.
I think that could be, you know, it's a really hard thing to have to go through. Any breakup is, but being engaged and then coming into this type of relationship and then breaking up, that adds like a whole nother element to it.
For sure.
But sometimes those things are part of our character growth.
Absolutely.
And maybe that taught her some things about herself, and maybe
That's
she's
a good point.
grown. And I do hope that for her.
I bet she knows what she wants and doesn't want now.
Yeah,
And
and
it's
hopefully
probably not a throuple.
she can speak up for herself
Yes.
about what she does want.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, moving on to our next story. So, I was dating two women a few years back. The first was a 5-year relationship with a year overlapping with the second. The first partner decided she wanted to pursue a monogamous relationship with a new partner and left. I was understandably hurt, and just 2 days after she left, my remaining partner told me that it wasn't fair for me to, in quotes, still be mourning that other relationship since I had her. In order to not cause issues, I mourned on my own with no support. Within a month, my remaining partner began expressing concern that I was going to find someone new. She spent the next few months picking fights and expressing jealousy until I offered to close the relationship to end the fighting. After all of this, she cheated on me in our newly monogamous relationship.
Ugh.
I ignored many red flags because I was clinging to the second girl after being hurt by the first, fearful that I'd lose them both.
Oh, man.
And ultimately, that person did.
Yeah.
I don't want to say that you're like your energy and your focus attracts the future. You know what I mean? But we have talked about that before of what is that called? When you're going skiing or snowboarding and there's a tree and you're like, I don't want to hit the tree. I don't want to hit the tree. And then you focus on it, you hit the tree.
Yeah.
They have the same phenomenon in like when you ride motorcycles.
Yeah, that's a really big one, right? That happens a lot.
Yeah, they talk about like, don't think about like crashing. Like think about
Or look
where
at the
you-
oncoming traffic.
Right, like
on the
think
other
about where
side.
you want to go, not what you want to avoid.
Right.
And I just feel like there is some truth in that. Maybe we haven't really understood it from a like scientific level, but I do think if you focus on things, you will create that reality for you.
Well, it's manifesting, right? Like you can manifest in a positive way. You can also manifest in a negative way.
Yeah.
So I can definitely see in that situation how that could possibly be why that was a part of the outcome.
Such a I mean, clearly we don't have all of the details and the ins and outs of these stories, but for that dude, it's a dude.
I believe so, yeah.
For that dude, it's a bummer, right? Because you lose one partner and you're mourning the loss. Kind of what I was just talking about in that other story of like
Of how you would feel.
I would like it would be hard because I've developed feelings, relationship, memory, like all this stuff in love. Like it would take time for me to recover from the ending of that relationship. And I would hope that my other partner would have compassion and be there with me of like,
Right.
hey, I know I'm still your partner, and they wouldn't take offense to that either.
Well,
You
yeah,
know
it's
what I mean?
almost like she.
Seemed like
was
her ego
thinking-
was like, you have
Yeah.
me, why do you care?
Yeah, that's exactly what it seemed like. And I could see that being maybe a common thing happening in a breakup in polyamory.
Yeah.
If someone's not secure within the relationship, which sounds like she wasn't.
Well,
Or
and
just not-
based off the story, I'm just assuming here, but it seems that he was dating them separately.
Got it.
Okay.
Because in my mind, I'm like, well, if the females were also in a relationship,
She'd
would
be
think
mourning.
she would be mourning as well.
This is true.
But
Well, it seems like that
I-
other person was just had bad form,
Yeah.
yeah,
because then she cheated on him and
Yeah.
then was developing or was showing toxic traits when it was just them and picking fights. And
Well, and like he said, like he ignored red flags. And then, you know what I mean? Which sucks.
Yeah.
But when you're in love, I think it's very easy to do that.
yeah. And while he wasn't getting the emotional support for the grief of his lost relationship, he did still have a partner to kind of lean on in some ways. So I
Yeah.
do understand that fear of losing that and that comfort, because if then you're like, okay, well, you're getting insecure and jealous, like I'm going to end this, then you're totally alone. And that's a really drastic loss. Like
Absolutely.
going through a breakup with one person is really devastating and hard, and a lot of times flips your world upside down. And then to go through two separate ones at the same time, I could see being lost and really
Yeah.
uncomfortable in that.
well, in the way that it was too, right? He got cheated on, which it's not just a breakup. You're building this foundation off of trust, assuming that this person is going to do the right thing.
Yeah.
And then they don't. Like that's even harder to overcome than just a regular breakup, in my opinion.
For sure. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Damn. That's rough, man. I feel for you.
But it's
know.
also it's like, man, from that person who cheated on him, it doesn't sound like she had compassion. It doesn't sound like she was emotionally there for him. It just seems like she was just trying to get hers though.
Well, it kind of
what I'm
sounds
saying?
like another human being who maybe shouldn't be in the like polyamorous lifestyle.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
I mean, just being a decent human being, whether you're in a romantic relationship with them or not, if you see somebody struggling, I feel like it's an obligation. It's like a duty to your fellow human
Yeah.
to like extend an arm out and be like, hey, you all right?
yeah.
You know, and just try and be there for that individual if you see them struggling.
Especially if you're in a relationship.
Especially if you're in a
Yeah.
relationship. And, you know, sometimes what that looks like is just listening too. Just being there. Like we've had these conversations when one of us is struggling. It's like, I don't need you to problem solve. Need you to fix anything. I just need you to listen. And I'm speaking for myself because I've tried to problem solve with some of your guys' things. And just listening and just being there and saying like, I hear you. I feel for you.
Yeah, for sure.
You know, can mean the world to somebody who's struggling, who's their emotions, their world, like you said, gets flipped upside down.
Well, and maybe she would have felt better if she leaned into that rather than leaning into ego and fear of, because he's feeling like this about losing her. Like, I'm not as much.
Yeah. I also think that it goes back to, and I'm not going to defend this person because they didn't end up cheating in the
Yes.
end, but if you are in this type of relationship where you're with a partner who was dating someone else and that relationship ended and they're struggling, maybe that's uncomfortable for you to hear, and that's understandable. You can voice that in a nice, appropriate way and just say, this is hard for me to hear about. I'm struggling with these feelings, but I want to be here to support you in the ways that I can.
Yeah.
And just offer that up, because I think even just saying that, maybe
sure.
the partner then wouldn't feel the need to necessarily talk about it, but they feel a comfort and they feel like they have someone who's there for them.
Yeah.
And that can strengthen your own relationship.
For sure.
Yeah. So shall we wrap it up with a little bit more of a positive breakup?
Yeah.
I know
If there is
that
such a thing.
If there is such, I mean, there definitely is. You can find positives out of anything if you want to.
yeah.
And you can choose to grow, right? Like change is inevitable, growth is optional. There's things that are always gonna. Let me say that again now.
Can
Let
we
me
say that one more
again
time?
now.
Yeah.
Change is inevitable, growth is optional,
Let's
right?
go.
So things are going to happen that might flip your world upside down. Things are going to happen that might evoke fear. Things are going to happen that just you weren't expecting. and it's your choice and your option to choose, what can I do to grow from this?
Yeah.
What can I learn from this situation? This is, instead of something that was a tragedy, which it may be, a death in the family, a friend, anything like that is never easy. But you can choose to decide how you want to grow from this.
Absolutely.
I mean, I have this tattoo, amorpha T, which is Latin for a love of fate. And this is like a cornerstone in a lot of Stoic philosophy, which kind of translates to a love of fate. And Marcus Aurelius, who a brilliant mind and a former emperor of Rome, believed that we are a fire, and anything getting thrown into the fire can contribute to it burning brighter and growing stronger.
Even
Things
if it's a
getting
piece
thrown-
of doo-doo, doesn't matter.
Right, and it can. So if you look at life that way, anything that gets thrown at you, yes, it could diminish that flame. It could make it go lower, but it also, you can look at it as fuel for your flame to grow brighter and stronger and live the life that you want to, and you know, not look at yourself with a victim mentality of like, poor me, why is all this hard stuff happening? But okay, now I have the opportunity to grow from this, and I can be brighter and be a light for others as well.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Well said.
Yeah.
Thank you
I
for
think I
that.
read it on a bumper sticker or something. Dude.
That's a really good bumper sticker. We should sell those.
What's
Yeah.
up, girl, that bumper sticker?
bumper sticker. I'm starting to really like bumper stickers.
Bumper stickers kind of rule.
They're kind of bumping.
Oh, little car joke. No.
Whoa.
All right. So on to our next breakup story. So this is actually from a throuple that we had spoken to a while back. Part of the backstory with this, because we're going to tell more so the end of it. Backstory, 2 females, 1 male. The 2 females were existing friends prior to the relationship starting. They actually were coworkers, so they had an existing relationship in some form. So they ended up trying this out, developing feelings, but had some issues throughout the relationship, part of which they stated was lack of consistent communication, overcoming pre-existing relationship dynamics, and overcommitment to new relationship energy, putting too much pressure on one-on-one time, and the male didn't have as much intentional one-on-one time with each of them. If it ever did happen,
I think with the new,
yeah, with the new partner.
because I think that the male and the female are married.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then the female from the married part of the couple, throuple, felt like the male was obsessed with the new female partner. And that brought on
NRE,
some...
huh?
Yeah, it's that new relationship energy can seem like that.
It can, yeah. And it's hard to... You don't want to, like...
Dampen it. Yeah.
So that... I think that can bring on a lot of insecurities and feelings for someone who's watching that with their partner.
Right.
It's also easy to hyper focus on that feeling in a, like, you know, you've been with someone for so long, some things the day to day might feel mundane after a while. And then you introduce this new situation where you're like all of a sudden super excited,
Energized
and like, you're texting more, or you're like, you know, you're doing those things in early relationships, and then your other partner might be seeing it and be like, what the hell? Like, I'm not getting any of that energy too.
Yeah,
You
you're
know
not.
what I mean?
Yeah, normally in a monogamous relationship, it's just the 2 people feeling that. The people that are viewing that from the outside may be friends or family, which it doesn't affect them in that way. But as a partner, watching your partner do that that's a struggle. I mean, I'm sure you guys watch that in the situation with us meeting each other.
Yeah, but we also each felt it, I think. So we're kind of going through our own experiences of it. Like myself being with a woman for the first time, I was very focused on that. And this was a new experience for Kev as well, being with multiple partners at once. And so I think more than focusing on watching, like for myself, more than watching Kev have this new relationship energy and like really, really focusing on that, I was focused on what I was going through. freaking focused, you guys.
Well, and like this situation. So the two females work together and are already friends. So their new relationship energy is probably very different
Yes.
than how his
exactly.
is towards.
Well, and because they were friends, they worked together, they were hanging out, so that foundation was pretty strong. They, like you said, the relationship energy was different.
Absolutely.
And then it might feel like this other individual is trying to play catch up. It's like, okay, they are already developing further than I am, so I'm going to invest more into this
Saying
to
he's-
try and catch up.
Yeah.
He's doing that.
Right.
Which is
Which makes
understandable.
sense.
Understandable, yeah.
Yeah.
Logically, I get that.
But I could see how it could cause some issues. And
Maybe
in the end,
insecurities brought up.
yeah.
Well, and we can't, our intention is not to ever be like, you guys should do it like us.
No.
Because we recognize that every single person has a backstory. Every single person has different biology. Every single person has other traumas or big T or little t traumas that they've experienced. So when they're met with something, it could be very different how they feel, the emotions, the thoughts that come up than how we felt.
Yeah.
Right? So it's not a one size fits all. Everybody has a different backstory coming into a different type of situation. So I don't want people to be like, get off your fucking high horse,
No.
Camp Throuple,
Yeah,
take off the
no
white
way.
wig.
Like,
if it
I
does sound that way at all, I'm sorry.
Yeah,
No,
we're
like
just
I
trying to empathize and
understand
relate.
in this situation how difficult that could be for sure.
Yeah, because we weren't in that scenario.
Yeah.
That was very different than what we were going through of like both of us developing a totally new relationship. And so we were both kind of at that same level and building that in our own way
Yeah,
where
like-
I could see how one relationship was already developed and the other person trying to get to that point.
And seen, so like if I can try to put myself in the shoes of the female that was married, I've got this good friend who's like, my girlfriend that I'm very comfortable with, and then watching my partner like kind
Who
of
I married. And
who I'm
like,
married to then start to like really be interested in her. Yeah, that could feel
naturally, you would feel some
yeah, you
jealousy
feel
or
like,
some.
whoa, this is wild.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's understandable from her perspective as
Absolutely.
well. Yeah.
But, and then you have to look at the other side of him and what he was trying to do, which was like you said, maybe he's trying to play catch up. He's like, they're so comfortable. I want to get there. But yeah, that's a rough situation.
Yeah. So with this situation, their throuple relationship did end. The married couple stayed together, and they separated from the female. So we kind of did get a look at what today is like for them. So what they said. So things ended difficult because I didn't want to end the relationship. We were all on different pages, and I tried to hold on too hard.
This is his.
Yeah.
Okay.
We all clearly cared about each other a lot. And then these are changed names. Susie and Mike spent a few months repairing our relationship, and it's as good as ever.
That's great.
Susie and Brittany still work together and talk daily. I don't think their friendship is the same as it was before, but they are trying. Mike and Brittany haven't talked since June, and I'm sure we both still care about each other, but we need space. So they're respecting that marriage because the Susie and Mike are married and they're really working on their connection.
Yeah.
And so Brittany and Mike are being respectful of that as well, even though they care about each other. And I think they were probably in each other's lives in some form before forming an intimate relationship, but keeping that space to let everything settle and heal. And I think that's really appropriate. But the fact that the females, they still work together, so they have to see each other daily, but they're trying to work on that friendship, I think is really great.
Yeah, I think it's awesome.
I think the three of them are all highly and emotionally intelligent. I
Yeah.
think the way they're going about this makes sense for their situation. I think it's smart if the husband and the wife want to stay together to kind of mend the relationship, kind of work on repairing anything that might have arisen through that situation.
Yeah.
I think creating that space between the man and the third person is healthy because it's probably not going to cause more problems for the wife and allow both of them to heal on their own time.
Yeah.
It sucks because it does seem like love was there.
Right.
Yeah.
And these people all seem like good human beings. But sometimes it doesn't work out.
Yeah.
And that's not for that. There doesn't need to be a finger pointed at somebody to why it didn't work out.
Yeah.
Sometimes situations happen that it's just like, hey, this isn't meant to be. And that's okay. It's nobody's fault. You're all new at this. This was all their first time in this kind of relationship. And you're learning. And sometimes when you learn, you fall, right? But I think the way they're getting up from the fall is admirable. I think it's healthy. I think we're not experts. We're not professionals. We're not trying to pretend to be. We're just giving our opinion on situations, and people have asked us what we think about it.
Yeah, for sure. And I think it seems like they all probably learned a lot about themselves throughout the process. And it sounds like they gave it their all and tried. And like, at least you can say that. Like, we tried to go after it, and like, yeah.
What I love about this story too is it didn't work out, but it's not the end of the world. A lot of people can look at worst case scenarios and, oh, well, if this doesn't work out, then my marriage is ended, then this, and then I have to sell the house, and then blah, 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 which could happen. But it doesn't always happen, and this is cool because it's a real life scenario of it not working out, and it's not the end of the world. The sun rises the next day, you pick yourself up, you find out how to rebuild, you take the lessons that you learned, and you try and become a better version of yourself moving forward. And if you do decide to try it again, now you have experience of what to do, what not to do. And if you don't decide to do it again,
That's okay too.
you have an interesting chapter in your book
Yeah.
that you tried, and you didn't let fear overcome your ability to take that chance.
Absolutely.
Which I think is beautiful. And I
Absolutely.
think life is to experience. And as long as you're not hurting anybody or yourself, experience.
Yeah.
Try things out.
Yeah. As long as everyone's consenting, like,
Yeah.
go for it.
And get a little weird sometimes.
Get really weird.
Yeah.
Really weird.
We're pretty weird here.
What are your thoughts on that, Alana?
I mean, I agree with what you said. And I think that, you know, it was hard to watch this not work out for them, because we did talk to them throughout different stages of it, and they shared where they were at, you know, in the beginning when it was pretty exciting, and then when they were experiencing some issues, and then once it didn't work out, and they let us know in each of these stages. And it was like, it was sad for us
bummer.
to
It's like
be
you
like,
were rooting
man.
for them because
Yeah.
in the beginning when we talked to all of them, we were like, you guys are so cute.
You see the sparkle in all their
like
eyes.
they looked
Yeah.
excited.
And they're all like really kind,
Good humans.
good humans. And so, you know, there's that initial like, man, I'm bummed that didn't work out for them. But then to now get a look at what today is, and that they're healing and they are in a good place in life still.
Yeah.
I just think it's good that things worked out well for them in the end. You know, that breakup is going to be hard no
but
matter
it's
what.
not the end of the world, baby.
For anyone going through any kind of breakup, monogamous, polyamorous, whatever it may be. A friendship breakup can be fucking hard.
Absolutely.
It hurts for a while, and you take that time, and then you grow from it, and you figure out what life is going to bring you next. And
go, baby.
there's always something waiting for you around the corner. The universe has a plan. At least that's what I believe.
I agree.
All right.
One last thing on this story, because like you said, we've spoken to these individuals a few times, and I just want to say the introspection that was had, at least from the ones that we spoke to, was huge. Looking inwards of like, was there anything I could have done better?
Yeah. I feel like we communicated with him most, and he really was very introspective about the whole thing.
And what I think was admirable, and what I love about how he handled the situation, was he didn't project anything on either of them. He never sent a message or expressed that this was anyone else's fault. And he looked inwards of like, what could I have done better? And I think that's great, because you can't, anyone that thinks that they can control other people should check themselves at the door, right? Like, you can only control your responses to things and what you do. And that's all you should really focus on, is how can I be a better version of myself? What can I do to improve? What could I have done in this situation differently? And he didn't lash out in anger. He didn't attack them.
Yeah.
He didn't get angry. And
From
been
what
like,
we heard, from the messages.
well said. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's great to be noted. But from what we know about the situation from them talking to us is there wasn't any hostility towards anyone involved.
Yeah.
It was like, look, this sucks. It hurts. It didn't work out.
Yeah.
What could I have done better? This is how I feel. What are your guys' thoughts? And it's like, I feel like that's a really healthy way of looking at it.
For sure.
And moving forward in a situation instead of having resentment on one of your partners or putting it on that third person and just being angry and using them as the scapegoat or, well, it was their fault for fill in the blank. Like it takes accountability, it takes vulnerability, it takes courage to say, this could have been my fault and I want to grow from it and learn from it. So I just appreciate that a lot.
Absolutely.
I feel like that isn't very common nowadays.
Yeah. And again, thank you guys so much for sharing these stories with us. Like, I know it does take vulnerability just to send a message to us and tell us. So, like, we do appreciate it. We learn from your guys' stories. So,
Yeah.
you campers rock.
Yeah. Thank you guys. We appreciate y'all.
And it was difficult reading them.
Yeah.
It was.
My heart went out to a lot of
Yeah,
these people like, oh, man.
Yeah.
I know. Especially, I could imagine for some people, maybe it brought up those feelings of going through that when they're telling the story of it. So,
Next episode, we're going to be like, can we get stories of people whose relationships have lasted?
we should.
There might have been like some cathartic like release though with
hope
sharing the
so.
story though. So
Absolutely.
hopefully
Some people just need to talk, let
Release
it
it.
out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
To people who may understand a little better.
right.
Yeah.
For people that might not be in like a polyamorous relationship can try to relate to a degree, but they just might not be able
absolutely.
to.
Yeah, like you may, some people have never been broken up with, you may know what a breakup feels like, but it's hard to put yourself in someone's position if you haven't been in some polyamorous type of relationship. And so going through a relationship, going through a breakup in a polyamorous relationship without having kind of a community around you of people that are in the similar relationship can feel isolating because maybe if you lost both of your partners, like if both of you today were like, we're done with your ass, Alana, get out of here, then you kind of have each other and then I'm left totally alone.
And a lot of people wouldn't understand how that felt.
Yeah.
For sure.
So
We're also not going to do that.
No, we're not. I mean, we are going to go fishing today, but like we'll be back.
yeah, I want you guys to have fun.
And for the record, you said you didn't want to go fishing
That
today.
is true because
I
you're
did.
crazy.
Look it's December. It is late December.
So,
it's
it is
cold.
early.
My ears
It's
hurt.
early December.
Does anyone else have this issue with their ears when it's really cold outside? And if it's windy and cold, it's even worse. But it like hits your eardrum or something, and then you feel it deep in like your throat, and it hurts and it's throbbing and gives you a headache.
That's why she's
Anyone?
not going fishing.
Because there's a possibility of that, and I don't want to be put in that and then be like kind of grumpy. And I go to an office to work all week. So I'm outside of the house all week. We went out and hung out with some friends last night. And so I'm feeling very homebody-ish right now. Yeah, and
That's fine. That's fine.
I
man.
want to just
chill. All right. Well, let's get it started. And again, guys, if you haven't subscribed yet or liked this video, please do. We really appreciate it. All your guys' engagement really helps. So we appreciate it, guys.
Yeah. Thanks, guys.
Let's go. Let's do it.
do it.
All right, guys.
All right.
Bye, campers.
Bye,
Lights
campers.
out.
Lights out.